Hello and welcome to the examination, the discussion of the Indian economy. We had met yesterday, 1st of January 2024. Today, the 2nd of January 2024. In yesterday's discussion or examination, we had an idea of the multiple forces, the factors that are shaping the Indian economy. So, in today's discussion, we'll ask a question: does India have a unified economic policy? We have a policy for foreign affairs, that's diplomacy. We have a defense policy. We have a trade policy. We have a policy for citizenship. We have monetary policy, banking regulations, financial market regulations. But do we have a unified policy for the Indian economy? The answer is no. India does not have a unified policy for running its economy. It's fragmented all over, primarily because of the Indian Constitution. It's not because we do not know about the benefits of a unified or cohesive economic policy. It is just that the framers of the Indian Constitution felt comfortable in allocating the responsibilities of running the Indian economy to the states, the central government or the union, and then some issues are dealt with together in the concurrent list. So the Indian Constitution in Schedule 7 has the states list. In the same schedule it has the union list, and in the same schedule it has the concurrent list. The responsibility for running the Indian economy is fragmented, devolved, if you can say, dispersed. The states list looks at some components of the Indian economy, and primarily they are the biggest determinants. For example, agriculture is a state subject. The entire idea of running an agricultural economy is so dispersed that the states run their own agricultural policy. The second part, manufacturing. That's entirely in the hands of the state governments. In yesterday's conversation, I had separated the general economy into tradables and non-tradables. This can be done so with a little more emphasis and understanding in the context of the services sector, and in that context, the non-tradable services too are in the hands of the state governments. That is why I had said close to 75% of the power of determining where the Indian economy is headed is with the state governments. And India comprises 29 states. And then you have one government, the central government, the union government, which is led by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. So it would be incorrect to think that India's economy is run by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. No. But it would be absolutely okay to say that the Modi economy is the Indian economy, because ultimately the responsibility of aligning all the state forces rests with the Prime Minister. And let me also say this. There was a time when then Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu of Andhra Pradesh, before it was bifurcated into Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, was known as the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Andhra Pradesh. So every Chief Minister in India is a CEO, very independent. You should look at it in the context of multiple companies and each company having a CEO, and ultimately not even a holding company, but something that binds us all together in the context of the union government. So the union government is responsible for defense, diplomacy, banking, monetary policy, financial markets, commodity markets, and then regulation. The markets, the futures markets, the options markets, but direct contracting in agricultural produce is with the state government. So, and part of it definitely is because produce is grown in the states. So let me have this initial summarization. India does not have a unified economic policy. If you're living abroad, if you're Indian, and if you belong to the economic press or the financial press, or if you're learning economics or aspiring to go to business school, about which I'll talk immediately, you should be aware of the fact that India, as one large country, the world's largest population, does not have one unified economic policy. The power to determine where the collective economy is going is dispersed, diffuse. It rests with the state governments. And the central government in the main runs monetary policy, taxation, income taxes and corporate income taxes, financial markets, regulation, and the contracts comprising futures and options, and banking. And defense, of course, everyone understands why it has to be done at the level of the government. But everything else is done by the state governments, which is why when I said you have to understand that managing the Indian economy is very difficult. And why do I bring that up now? After finishing my mechanical engineering from the College of Engineering, India in 1978, I immediately went to the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. I was there between 1978 and 1980, and I graduated in 1980. In my second year, we had a very important main subject, a core subject called management policy, which couldn't be dodged by treating it as an elective. And the great professor, Professor Ramaswamy Iyer, R.P. Iyer, was the fabulous teacher teaching management policy. So I asked him, "Sir, I understand that management policy is very important for companies, corporates, banks. Can I learn something and use these principles in the context of the Indian economy?" He said, "No, India doesn't have one economic policy, so you can treat it as fragmented and you can learn it bit by bit." So what I did was iron ore, mining, and steel policy. Okay, so mining belongs to the central government or the union list, which is part of the primary sector, but the other big component, which has perhaps 42% of the population in India depending on, is run by the state government. So very clearly, India does not have one cohesive economic policy. And in that framework, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has managed to align all these forces as Prime Minister since 2014. And how does he really say that I know what my job is? He was the Chief Minister of Gujarat before he became the Prime Minister of India. So the political aspirants in India understand that economic policy making is not in the hands of the Prime Minister. You should have learned the ropes as a Chief Minister. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And let me also talk a bit more about Gujarat. In a couple of days from now, Gujarat would have its own celebration, Vibrant Gujarat. And let's also talk about Tamil Nadu, where the Prime Minister is visiting today. He unveiled the newest terminal in the Indian airport sector, Tiruchirappalli, otherwise known as Trichy. And there you had Chief Minister Thiru M.K. Stalin and Prime Minister Thiru Narendra Modi. And in that context, Tamil Nadu will have a global investors meet on the 7th of January and the 8th of January. Global investors. They may be investing in agriculture, they may be investing in manufacturing, they may be investing in services. Global investors meet will address investments in agriculture, manufacturing and services. But the important point is, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Thiru M.K. Stalin, sees himself as a CEO of the Tamil Nadu economy and is doing it. Similarly, other states have a very similar process. Economic policy in India is fragmented. That's the reason why we brought up the Global Investors Meet in Tamil Nadu and the Vibrant Gujarat Meet in Gujarat. The chief ministers of the states of India drive the Indian economy. I remember 5-10 years ago when WhatsApp was becoming very popular, or maybe not 5-10 years ago, but a little later. There used to be a map of India with the very many states and their population, and then they would say the population of Tamil Nadu is that of the United Kingdom. But unfortunately, the size of the United Kingdom's economy is much more than the size of the Tamil Nadu economy. Very similarly, they would say that Uttar Pradesh is this country, West Bengal is that country, Karnataka is this country. It used to be a nice thing to say that so many countries and their populations add up to the Indian economy's population, Indian society's population, but definitely not the Indian economy in terms of size. So India does not have one cohesive economic policy, and that's why it's magical to say that India has been doing fine. It's a portfolio of assets. That's a term I had used yesterday. And there are multiple hurdles that India still has to cross, but the alignment part for now is a given. And every chief minister of every state sees herself or himself to be in charge because their own electoral fortunes depend on that. But more importantly, the goods and services tax too. So there's been devolution in the context of the fiscal part. The goods and services taxes part is understood to be something that the states control, and if they prosper, they earn more through GST. But income taxes are a very different thing and they get allocated. But if you believe that you've all along lived with a Bayesian preconditioning that India needs or has one cohesive economic policy, you're thoroughly wrong. You would have a very great disappointment. This program actually is aimed at telling people that you've been fooling yourself into believing that the good things are because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the bad things are because of Narendra Modi. Neither is right. But what matters is when things go well, someone is aligning all these things. So India does not have one cohesive economic policy, but a day before the union budget, which deals with the central government's investments, its taxation inflows, would have the economic survey. That's one unified economic survey. So you have an economic survey, but you do not have an economic policy that we all understand. So each state government, therefore, has its own stewards, the big guys and the big girls running their economy. They have a planning commission. They have a council to let them know how manufacturing should take place. So they're all attracting investments from around the country. That's the kind of flexibility and freedom India offers. The state governments can attract foreign investment. The channeling alone is done by institutions pertinent to the government of India. But the point is, chief ministers lobby. They compete for investments in their states. So with this, I finish with a couple of summarizing statements. India does not have one cohesive economic policy. The state governments determine close to 75% of the vitality of the Indian economy in all three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and non-tradables in particular in services. So India is a bundle of different state portfolios, each pursuing its own agriculture, manufacturing, and services policy, especially in the context of non-tradables. And therefore, in this context, a 6.5% backstop growth that the chief economic advisor, Dr. V. Anantha Nageswaran, talks about is very credible. We're doing great. And that is the reason why Prime Minister Narendra Modi feels comfortable in dealing with both criticism and applause, because he has once been a chief minister, very successful chief minister, and he uses that acumen to enable the other chief ministers of the contemporary Indian political firmament to act as CEOs. He has that experience. As chief minister, he's garnered that experience. Now at the helm as the Prime Minister of India, he knows what the aspirations of the states are. That is the reason why he has very successfully aligned the growth-oriented powers, aspirations, and dreams and policies of the states. So India would be celebrating its Republic Day on the 26th of January 2024. At that time, I urge you to remember that we as a republic are truly remarkable. Multiple states, multiple CEOs as chief ministers, practicing what is best understood to be good for them, and running agriculture policy, manufacturing policy, the non-tradable sector of services. Thereby, economic policy is their game in town.